Hello, BookTube, and welcome to episode 2 of Hours in My Library, a short video series selecting a book from my library and giving a little more detail than I normally would during a book haul or otherwise, or even shelf tour. And the books that are of interest to me and a little less common than your garden variety. I hope they are anyway, and possibly or many have not seen them, so that's the idea from it. And this week we are back with Alan Stapleton for London Lanes, illustrated with 40 pencil drawings by the author, published in 1930 by, in London, John Lane, the Bodley Head, and in New York, Dodd, Mead and Company. There's the title page that does not have the red lettering for the title as the previous volume, and the frontispiece is his drawing of Love Lane. This copy has an interesting inscription in it, dated 1930. And it's to Daddy with love and best wishes for a very happy Christmas from Nora. I don't think Daddy read it because it's an unopened copy. There's many pages that have not been cut. But the preface is quite interesting in here. I'll read bits of it. And he starts out, this book needs no excuse. It is an attempt to enumerate, name, and describe as far as possible all the lanes, old and new, of London. I have discovered considerably over 900 names for these lanes, actually at some time or now so-called. Many are still in existence. The earliest lanes undoubtedly were the paths between the land approaches to the inns, townhouses, palaces, and monasteries. Also the lanes which led to the villages in the country beyond the walls of the city. Some London streets were themselves but footways or bridle lanes between the walls of the gardens belonging to the great houses of the nobles and palaces of the kings, which houses, in order to preserve their privacy, were approached by their own barges to their own stairs on the river, which they hugged, the river which had been the great means of transport for 16 centuries. Of these stairs, a few remained, with their approaches termed lanes. And he goes on to say, to trace all these lanes through the centuries, through all the changes caused by great fires, demolitions, partial and entirely, Roman culture, and other happenings seem to me to be of interest. To endeavor to enumerate them all, to place them in their correct settings, topographic, historic, and romantic, has been of still further interest. And he says, here are the results. And he can only hope that he gets a similar response to this volume as he did for London Alleys, Byways, and Courts. And if we remember in the first one, the manuscript was stolen from him. He had to rewrite it, and he says, for this one, ill luck has been present with me again, even in this book of lanes. Many of my notes and drawings for it were destroyed by fire, as well as a quantity of the first edition of my London Alleys, Byways, and Courts. And then he does say that that he could, the long-awaited or long-threatened second volume of the Alleys, Byways, and Courts will appear in due course. I've not seen that. I'll have to look for it. And we'll just go through a few of the lanes here, the drawings. New Grand, I think, yeah, it's New Grand Lane, Wapping. It's a little difficult to read his writing because they're written down at the bottom here. And this is, again, well, we saw Love Lane. And this is Brick Lane, Bethnal Green, looking south. And this is Maid Lane. And this is Cock Lane, Shoreditch. And do a few more. London Lane. and Lawrence Lane. Yeah, so there ends the second installment of Hours in My Library. And we'll have another book for next week. Take care, BookTube.